엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Coming up on Arirang News, South Korea and Turkmenistan adopted a joint statement agreeing to expand their cooperation in energy and infrastructure with $6 billion worth of contracts expected for Korean firms. A number of North Korean soldiers accidentally crossed the inter-Korean border, briefly stepping into the south. After Seoul's warning shots, they quickly returned. The latest trade data show that in April, South Korea's current account has turned into red for the first time in a year, with rising import prices and more dividend payments to foreign investors. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. The leaders of South Korea and Turkmenistan signed deals to strengthen cooperation in energy and infrastructure and agreed to further develop their ties in a future-oriented way. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young files this report.
South Korea and Turkmenistan have agreed to boost cooperation on major energy and infrastructure projects, which are expected to rake in some $6 billion worth of contracts for Korean firms. This came on Monday as President Yoon and his Turkmen counterpart Serdar Bermuhamedov held a bilateral summit in Ashgabat and issued a joint statement as they oversaw the signing of some 8 memorandums of understanding.
오늘 저는 베르디 무하메도프 대통령님과 회담을 갖고 기존 협력을 더욱 내실화하고 협력의 지평을 미래지향적으로 확대함으로써 우리의 호혜적 동반자 관계를 더욱 심화 발전시키기로 하였습니다.
Turkmenistan and South Korea see enormous potential for joint cooperation in creating a supercontinental shipping route from Asia to Europe between East and West and North and South. We confirmed our mutual interest in expanding cooperation in the energy sector.
During their talks, the two leaders agreed to strengthen collaborations on large-scale construction projects, as Hyundai Engineering inked a deal with state-owned Turkmen Gas for the 4-stage desulfurization facility at the Galkanish gas field and resume operation of the Kianli polymer plant on the Caspian coast. The top-level meeting is also expected to boost Daewoo Engineering's chances of clinching orders for urea and ammonia fertilizer plants in Turkmenistan. These potential construction projects combined could generate some $6 billion worth of contracts, according to Yoon's Senior Secretary for Economic Affairs. To further boost business activities and exchanges, the two governments signed a bilateral framework to promote trade and investment in various sectors, including energy, green economy, and digital technology.
TIPF is an institutional mechanism for not only trade and investment but also strategic cooperation across industry and energy in response to changes in the global trading order. Turkmenistan has not yet joined the WTO, so it was not easy for our companies to access the local market. But with the conclusion of this TIPF, a stable investment environment will be created.
Yoon and Bermuhamedov also backed collaborations on developing smart cities and transport infrastructure in a separate deal, as well as agreeing to ramp up cooperation in areas like shipbuilding, ICT, healthcare, climate response, and development cooperation. Their governments recently agreed to increase flight operations between the two countries from the current twice a week to 5 times a week, which would promote bilateral exchanges. During the summit, both leaders recognized the need for the complete denuclearization of North Korea for global peace and prosperity, emphasizing the importance of fulfilling international obligations under UN Security Council resolutions.
As they elevated their partnership to new heights, the Turkmen leader expressed his support for President Yoon's K-Silk Road initiative, South Korea's first ever regional strategy for comprehensive cooperation with Central Asia, from procuring natural resources to increasing human exchanges and development assistance.
As part of his 3-nation tour in Central Asia this week, President Yoon will also travel to Kazakhstan on Tuesday and Uzbekistan on Thursday. Oosyoung, Arirang News.
Wrapping up his state visit to Turkmenistan, President Yoon participated in a business forum. There, he emphasized the need to speed up cooperation in key areas while being joined by the nation's supreme leader. Our presidential correspondent Kim Do-yeon has the details.
Cooperation in the energy and infrastructure sectors were emphasized yet again as South Korea and Turkmenistan on Tuesday held a business forum at Turkmenistan's Chamber of Commerce and Industry in light of President Yoon Suk-yeol's state visit. President Yoon, joined by 200 business leaders from the two countries and government officials, including Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, the chairman of the People's Council of Turkmenistan, referred to the Akar Teke, a Turkmen horse breed known for speed and endurance, intelligence, and a distinctive metallic sheen to speed up cooperation even further.
세계 4위 천연가스 보유국인 투르크메니스탄과 산업화 경험과 첨단 기술을 보유한 한국은 앞으로 함께 할 일이 참 많습니다. 투르크메니스탄의 명마 아할테게처럼 양국 경제 협력의 속도를 더욱 높여야 합니다.
He pointed to the Trade and Investment Promotion Framework signed the day before as the means to make this happen. On top of this, he said he wished to complete the signing of the Investment Protection Agreement, which will further provide the basis for companies to invest in each other safely. He also said how far the bilateral relationship has come is thanks to the business leaders who successfully completed projects that contributed to Turkmenistan's economy, including gas plants.
이처럼 양국이 한층 더 가까워진 토대에는 앞장서서 소통하고 긴밀하게 협력하며 실질적인 성과를 만들어내신 경제인 여러분의 노력이 있습니다. 양국 경제인 여러분께 다시 한번 큰 박수를 보내드립니다.
Chairman Berdimuhamedov also emphasized the results of the summit from the day before and said the bilateral relationship will play a vital role for both countries going forward.
In recent years, cooperation between South Korea and Turkmenistan has reached an even higher level, particularly in the fields of politics, diplomacy, economy, culture, and humanitarian efforts. The relationship between the two countries has seen significant development and has gained new meaning.
The comments are backed by the fact that he contributed to the bilateral relationship when he was the president.
Supreme Leader Berdimuhamedov, who visited South Korea 3 times during his tenure as president, made significant contributions to the development of bilateral relations, including the establishment of a mutually beneficial partnership in 2008. He is an important figure who has left a substantial legacy in the relationship between the two countries.
President Yoon last met with Berdimuhamedov back in 2022 when he was visiting Seoul as well. And the two, after the forum, moved to have lunch together to discuss cooperation in more detail. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
President Yoon says he expects to strengthen cooperation with Kazakhstan when it comes to energy, infrastructure, and critical minerals. His remarks came in a written interview that made the front pages of Kazakhstan's dailies ahead of his state visit to the country on Tuesday. President Yoon said he aims to bolster the bilateral partnership in not only energy and infrastructure, but also in critical future sectors such as key minerals, science and technology, and response to climate change. He added that Seoul will support Kazakhstan's efforts to ramp up its digital industry, especially in artificial intelligence, and promote further human and cultural exchanges, noting how 120,000 ethnic Koreans reside in Kazakhstan. Also, he lauded Kazakhstan's world-class example of denuclearization as the country closed down its Soviet-era nuclear facility and voluntarily dismantled a large number of nuclear weapons after independence. The South Korean leader will sit down for a bilateral summit with his Kazakh counterpart on Wednesday. One of the key words to describe this trip is K-Silk Road, as Seoul aims to strengthen its cooperation with the countries of Central Asia. Strategically located connecting Europe and Asia, Seoul sees plenty of opportunities in the young, growing region. Our correspondent Kim Jung-sil explains.
Central Asia, an ancient center of global trade and commerce through the Silk Road connecting Europe and Asia, is again growing in importance because of its strategic location, resources, and high growth potential.
Central Asia is a critical strategic location and land of opportunity. As global resource cooperation has become more important than ever, Central Asian countries are our key partners with their abundant resources, such as natural gas and key minerals.
Kazakhstan, for example, has deposits of a range of rare minerals, and Turkmenistan has the world's fourth largest natural gas reserves. Uzbekistan has several rare metals, including gold and molybdenum, as well as oil and gas. Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan have abundant hydroelectric resources thanks to their high altitudes. Seoul plans to deliver official development assistance in these countries to bring innovation and digitalization in public administration. The high growth potential of the region based on its young demographic cannot go unnoticed. 30% of the total population of those 5 countries is under the age of 14. With many ethnic Koreans still living in Central Asia, the government also hopes to strengthen people-to-people exchanges.
The vision of the K-Silk Road cooperation aims for the freedom, peace and prosperity of South Korea and Central Asia. We hope to pursue shared prosperity while tackling global challenges together based on universal values, while promoting peace in the region.
Seoul says with its technological abilities and the growth potential of Central Asia, the two regions can create even greater synergies by working together. The government plans to strengthen high-level communication with Central Asian countries and plans to hold the first summit next year. Kim Jung-sil, Arirang News.
Amid escalating tensions, North Korean soldiers stepped into South Korean territory on Sunday, most likely by accident. The troops promptly returned across the border after a warning from the South Korean military. Our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung reports.
A small group of North Korean troops briefly crossed the inter-Korean border on Sunday while working within the demilitarized zone. According to South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff on Tuesday, the troops briefly crossed some 50 meters over the military demarcation line at around noon after it appeared they'd become lost. They then immediately returned north after the South Korean military aired warning broadcast and fired warning shots.
We believe North Korea had no intention of invading, since they moved north immediately after we broadcasted warnings and fired warning shots.
No unusual activity has been recorded since. The military said it is closely monitoring the North's movement and taking necessary measures. The announcement comes as tensions between the two Koreas escalated following the North's recent trash-carrying balloon deliveries to the South. Sunday is also when South Korea reactivated loudspeaker campaigns for the first time in 6 years and broadcasted anti-Pyongyang messages and K-pop. North Korea also installed loudspeakers near the inter-Korean border on Monday, but the JCS confirmed no broadcasts have been made. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
A power struggle continues at the new National Assembly. Having unilaterally elected leaders of key committees, the main opposition party says it'll start operating these. The ruling party is planning response measures. Our political correspondent Shin Ah-young has more.
After the main opposition bloc unilaterally voted to select key assembly committee chiefs, the Democratic Party is pushing to begin operating them while urging the ruling party to finalize forming the remaining 7 committees.
The DP will immediately activate the newly formed committees to address current issues and pass necessary laws.
This is the first time in South Korea's constitutional history for the main opposition bloc to select committee chiefs in a unilateral vote. The DP and minor parties unilaterally voted on 11 standing committee chairpersons on Monday amid a ruling People Power Party boycott. Before the opposition parties pushed through a plenary session to hold the vote, the rival party floor leaders and the assembly speaker met on Monday but failed to agree on how to share the leadership of the standing committees. All 11 committees are now chaired by DP lawmakers, including Chung Chung-nae, who will lead the Legislation and Judiciary Committee. The two rival parties have been at odds over appointing the chairpeople of the Chamber's 18 standing committees, with both parties vying for the chairmanship of the Judiciary, Broadcasting, and Steering Committees. Speaker Woo on Monday explained that he held the plenary session as it was urgently necessary to address issues regarding people's livelihood and tense inter-Korean relations.
As the speaker who has to run the assembly based on people's will and parliamentary rules, I couldn't keep delaying forming standing committees. People's livelihoods are at stake.
The PPP's floor leader Chu Kyung-ho criticized the DP on Monday for unilaterally appointing the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, stating that the position is crucial for partially preventing the DP from pushing through all its own bills. On Tuesday, the ruling party submitted a resolution calling for the resignation of the Assembly Speaker, accusing him of violating his duty to be politically neutral.
Speaker Woo violated his duty of neutrality by conducting biased proceedings and scheduling, and pushed through assigning committee leaderships.
The PPP will hold a daily party caucus for now to discuss plans, including whether to reject the entire upcoming assembly schedule and how to allocate the remaining 7 committee leadership posts. Apart from the committees, the party also plans to address livelihood issues through a separate task force within the party. 신하영, Arirang News.
The latest trade data show that in April, South Korea's current account has turned into red for the first time in a year, with rising import prices and more dividend payments to foreign investors. Our economics correspondent Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
South Korea's current account swung back into the red in April for the first time in a year on the back of increased dividend payments to foreign investors and rising prices of raw materials. Preliminary data released by the Bank of Korea on Tuesday show that the country's current account recorded a deficit of $290 million in April. This ends the surplus streak for the account seen since May 2023. The goods account recorded a $5.11 billion surplus due to a rise in outbound shipments. A majority of export categories recorded by the central bank showed a rise on year in total value, with semiconductors recording more than a 54% increase as the industry showed recovery from last year's lows. Imports, however, were also up due to the rising prices of raw materials such as gas and oil, which is the main reason the goods account surplus was lower than in previous months. The primary account that monitors foreign workers' wages and overseas dividend payments saw a deficit of nearly $3.4 billion on the back of increased foreign dividend payments. According to a BOK representative, this is because South Korean firms tend to pay out dividends to overseas investors in April.
Current account balance in April normally shows a deficit due to a deficit in the primary income account. For April this year, there was a temporary deficit in the current account because of the decreased surplus in the goods account with rising import value in addition to the primary income deficit.
The service account, which includes earnings and spending on overseas trips and transport, recorded a $1.66 billion deficit. The reason given was increased outbound travel, but the central bank said that an influx of tourists coming to South Korea from China and Southeast Asia helped to reduce the deficit. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
South Korea's economy is showing signs of improvement as exports rise, but domestic demand remains sluggish. That's according to a monthly economic assessment report released by the Korea Development Institute on Tuesday. The institute said that the slowdown in the economy was easing as exports were up nearly 12% year-on-year in May, mainly due to strong demand for semiconductors. But the economy is seeing weak domestic demand with retail sales showing a downward trend on elevated interest rates. In other news, hopping onto a drone taxi in Seoul's Gangnam-gu district to catch a flight at Incheon International Airport could become a reality soon. Our An Sung-jin tells us more.
A helicopter flies above the city of Seoul. It will soon provide the country's first helicopter shuttle service.
Urban air mobility is not yet familiar, and the necessary infrastructure is still lacking. We're looking to build the infrastructure and customer base needed for the market, and once UAM becomes prevalent, we would like to contribute to the Korean air mobility market.
Opening its reservations on Tuesday, the helicopter service will start operating in 2 weeks. Its major route, which is from Gangnam to Incheon International Airport, cuts travel time from an hour and a half down to just 20 minutes. The chopper can hold up to 8 passengers, and not only does it shuttle customers to and from the airport, but it will also provide tours. The company aims to use helicopters as a stepping stone to further develop urban air mobility. This helicopter behind me could soon be an electric vehicle takeoff and landing aircraft as the company is rushing towards pushing South Korea to the age of the affordable urban air mobility. eVTOLs use batteries or fuel cells rather than a helicopter's typical combustion rotor engine, which helps reduce noise. Data from the Korea Agency for Infrastructure Technology Advancement shows that South Korea is looking to commercialize UAM starting from 2025 and to further integrate it by 2030. By 2040, it aims to reach $10.9 billion in terms of market value.
UAM will be a new, smart mobility solution to increase transport efficiency. However, apart from technological advancement, we also have to look at how it can be integrated into the city and our daily life as a new transportation system.
In order to establish a well-integrated UAM system, the private sector should provide transport services while the government aims to establish a traffic management system and provide the necessary infrastructure. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
K-pop boy group 17 will become UNESCO's Goodwill ambassador for youth. The group's agency, Pledis Entertainment, made the announcement on Tuesday and said that this is the first time UNESCO has made such a designation. 17 is expected to attend the appointment ceremony at the UNESCO headquarters in Paris this month and deliver the acceptance speech. The boy group was also the first K-pop act to deliver an address at a UNESCO Youth Forum, doing so last November when speaking about solidarity, dreams, and the hopes of young people.
Yesterday, the first heat wave warning of this year was issued in the Gyeongsang-do provinces and surrounding areas. And the first tropical night phenomenon of this year was observed in Gangneung overnight. This is about a week earlier than last year. Heat wave warnings were expanded to all parts of Gyeonggi-do and Jeollanam-do provinces this morning. The midsummer-like heat will continue tomorrow, exceeding 30 degrees Celsius across the country. It will be 30 degrees in Seoul, 33 in Gangneung, and 34 in Daegu. After that, there will be many days when the temperatures in Seoul will soar to 32 degrees Celsius until the end of the week. Tomorrow, Seoul and Busan will start off at 20 degrees. It will move up to 32 in Daejeon and Gwangju, Gyeongju 35 degrees. Temperatures will cool a bit after rain in the Seoul metropolitan area and western Gangwon-do province this coming weekend. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news at 9 a.m. with New Day at Arirang. Good night.
Lotte takes a new leap beyond its boundaries. Our change will lead to better lives